Well, well, well. Here we are again, upon the precipice. Another look from the James Webb perspective. Welcome back once again to the Ultimate Gaming Run, the series where I am playing through all of the main games represented by the main roster and as many of the spirits as possible in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. If this is the first time you have ever seen my channel, welcome to our non-profit organization, funded and aided entirely by you, the newcomer, and you, the initiated. Take a seat, have a snack, perhaps a drink. We charge extra for the hard stuff, and relax as I entertain you with my finest efforts in a game series I finally think I'm starting to get the hang of. Last time, we played Kirby's Dream Land 2, which is the prequel to Kirby's Dream Land 3, and our first insight into the immense power of our Lord and Savior, Kirby of Popstar, for whom our home is devoted. We have been playing through his mainline series to fully earn the right to use his infinite power against the forces of the false prophet Galeem in the World of Light, on the hardest difficulty. So far we have played Kirby's Dream Land, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby's Dream Land 2, and we've ranked them all on this amazing tier list that I've included because I like tricking the algorithm into showing you things that are trendy. If you would like to see how we have achieved such rites of passage and where they ranked, please take a look at my prior videos on the subject to catch up if you are interested. Now, because we have played through the first Dreamland and the second, up next, obviously, is Kirby Superstar.
What?
But there are some lovely and interesting situations that have arisen. Kirby Superstar is a Super Nintendo Entertainment System release that hit the shelves in 1996, just after the release of Dreamland 2 for the Game Boy. Instead of being a single story-driven game, this title featured an anthology-style series of smaller sub-games, like little nuggets of story as opposed to a whole chicken parmigiana. It was the first Kirby game in the mainline series to have a multiplayer, which is awesome, and had 8 sub-games, each with their own gameplay shtick and interesting, unique mechanics. But in 2008, Nintendo did what they do best and make the game a second time, this time for the Nintendo Dual Screen, with updated sound and graphics, 5 more sub-games, fully animated movies to introduce and cap off each of them, a higher difficulty ceiling, dramatized and new characters, and all of this on a portable device you could play real quietly as you hoped your parents would not come into your room. I am absolutely certain all of the people watching this have had this experience if you owned a DS as a kid. If you've not, you missed out on the rush. Gaming was hardcore back then. Because of the fact that Kirby Superstar Ultra is not just a remake, but an improvement, I decided to entirely skip over the SNES release and focus on the new version, a whole generation ahead and widely considered the definitive edition. This game right here is the big one, the one that I've been looking forward to since we started, and I am so ready for it. Now, there is no particular order that these sub-games need to be played in necessarily, so I arbitrarily decided to play the first one because that is the correct decision. Welcome to the Spring Breeze, also known as Kirby's Dream Land, but we have graphics this time. This sub-game is a remake of the entire original Game Boy title, because Nintendo very much needs to do what they do best. And again, it really paints a picture of the level of improvement the Kirby series has undergone, with what used to be considered an entire video game taking me just 18 minutes to beat. Kirby Superstar Ultra is an immensely refined game. At this point, Kirby is 16 years old and has figured out how his body has changed and evolved since he hit puberty. The controls are tight, the animations are fantastic and expressive, the colors are beautiful, and the sound design is just stellar. The DS is able to produce a much better array of sounds than the previous consoles, now that audio is not limited to like 16 bits on a handmade computer chip. Instead, we got the honestly incredible magic of modern CPUs in the palm of our hands. One can only hope that technology appreciates being created in the first place, because I do believe we ought to really consider how good AI is at looking human nowadays. Anyway, Spring Breeze was actually so short that after I beat DDD, I was genuinely surprised I had completed the sub-game. I thought I was missing something, especially because these bosses were pretty easy. Every single one of them went down in a single try or two. To be honest, this was a nice change of pace from the first game, where I distinctly remember every single boss absolutely handing my round pink ass to me on a silver platter for like 20 minutes, because as I hope is exceptionally clear, I am apparently very good at being bad at video games. Now, given that this is a remake of the first game, there's honestly not even much to say about Spring Breeze. I mostly just have positives. this felt like a pretty good start. It was immensely easy, but for a kid to get into the series, that is no problem. Nintendo showing off the roots of our elder god before his ascension. Given that there is an opportunity for me to get meta here, I have decided to also rank each of the sub-games from F to S, because tier lists are fun and I'm not about to apologize anytime soon. I'd say Spring Breeze was a cute little romp, but I really barely even recall what happened. It was over before I knew it was over. D tier for DDD Done Dirty. So ends our tale of Genesis. Now, Dyna Blade. Here we have our first insight into the true nature of our Lord, his justice. Dyna Blade is a massive, armored rainbow bird with territorial issues and a documented hatred of corn. She's been attacking crops across Dreamland, which in a food-based economy is literally terrorism. Kirby alone can stop her, and so he rises to the mountaintop where she roosts, as all righteous boys should. This game mode is basically a slightly harder version of Spring Breeze, only instead of taking on DDD stealing food from the residents, you are taking on Dyna Blade stealing food from the residents. The level design is just a bit changed around, and instead of simply progressing from one level to the next, you have a little world map with a few secrets and a handful of hidden doors that lead to epic rooms full of copy abilities. This is an evolution of player-focused gameplay, a concept that Nintendo really continued into the modern day with some genuinely expansive world maps later in this series, and in plenty of others. 5 stages and then the boss this time around, so it is a little bigger than Spring Breeze, but it still only took me 21 minutes to beat. It was over before I really got too engrossed. Dyna Blade herself was an interesting boss, but with the ability to summon your helpers whenever you'd like, she went down as quickly as she came. I don't even feel good about it at this point, but we move on triumphant regardless. Gosh, bosses are a lot easier this time around. I wonder if that's gonna be a trend. You can make a helper anytime, from any enemy. All you have to do is press a button and boom, brand new best friend. The ethical implications of that are beyond my pay grade to discuss. At the end, we do learn something very important though. Kirby is merciful and just, and sees to it that Dyna Blade's children are well cared for and happy after beating the shit out of their mom. Overall, I place Dyna Blade at C for cool-ass armored rainbow bird boss. So ends our tale of perspective. Next up, Gourmet Race. Iconic, hilarious, filled with character. Gourmet Race tells us the quote-unquote story of DDD challenging Kirby to a race and also an eating contest. Hope you have a bag available for when that food comes back up. 3 short races, some of best, winner takes all. For glory, for Dreamland, for cholesterol. This is also the birthplace of the most intensely bizarre cover of all time. Shoutouts to Simple Flips. You know why.
1, 2, a hot meal. Kirby is a pink guy. 1, 2, a hot meal because Kirby is very cute.
Now this is obviously super simple. Get to the end and eat as much food as possible along the way. This really gets you to strategize and forces you to adapt fast. Do you skip that food that you missed, or do you move on? Oop, you hesitated, now he's past ya, and if he makes it first, get wrecked, boy. You ain't winning this round regardless. I should mention, I really, personally, do not like racing games. I have never enjoyed them. They make me unreasonably angry. But this is a tolerable race. DDD is easily my greatest rival, and he has a reason to be upset. I absolutely trounced him in Spring Breeze on my first try, so of course he decided that what he was going to do about it was eat as much as possible as quickly as possible. I do not personally recommend that strategy for when you are sad. Believe me, 20 pounds and a depressive episode later, it gets really hard to stop. Anyway, I ended up only playing this mode for 20 minutes overall, losing the first time and beating him the second time. Look how pathetic and sad he is over there. Yeah, swallow in misery, you greedy, fat penguin bitch! I rate Gourmet Race for don't fuck with me again, DDD, you rat! I'll make you regret it. So ends our tale of consequence. Up next on our agenda, the Great Cave Offensive. Now, I want to preface this section by being very clear, just so we can keep the comment section quiet, which probably won't happen, but the attempt is being made. okay? I am not intending to 100% complete every game in the world of light. The challenge I am already doing is insane enough, and according to ChatGPT, it could take me anywhere from 250 hours to 58 years to complete. Beating all of the games that I can, as they are represented by Smash Bros. Ultimate, is an immense undertaking, and I will once again reiterate, I am only trying to beat the games by reaching their credits, okay? Not 100%. We got that settled? Okay. So I decided to collect every single treasure in the Great Cave Offensive. This took me about 3 hours. I am so sorry to my editor. Don't worry, I pay him. He's okay. He's probably crying, but he's okay. Shout out to the editors, by the way. You think you know how hard editing is. You don't. That's why I'm over here playing games, and he's over there suffering through my existential collapse in real time. Collecting all of the treasures in the Great Cave Offensive is not at all required to beat the sub-game, but it is the only way to have all the treasures, so I figured we may as well. At first, the overall experience was pretty linear. Just being meticulous in the first section more than easily allowed me to collect everything here. The main goal is to find, access, and collect all these little trinkets, which are scattered about, some with unique copy abilities needed to free or obtain them, some with little puzzles, and others that just require you be a little more careful about remembering which paths go which way. Right from the get-go, the sub-game encourages non-linear gameplay, with careful routing and planning essential to actually getting all of them. In addition to finding these, the level will also tell you when you have reached the end of a section by having these doorways with big, obvious stars on them. This is much appreciated because I do enjoy exploring and squeezing all the juice out of all the levels I am playing. And I feel entirely cheated out of that experience whenever I accidentally end up going down the path that progresses the story. Now, if you do end up going through the door, you can always come back, but it is an easy way to keep the different areas segmented from each other. Between each course, there's a little railway system where you can also reenact your favorite traumatic live leak video of a cow getting vaporized by a train. Now, once you get past the first area here, you enter a boss fight against Fatty Whale. That name is so wrong. This guy went down no problem, so we moved on to the much less linear portion of the cave. Here, in the honestly beautiful crystal caves, is where things get interesting. There are plenty of loops, split paths, and odd places to go to find treasures in, and the whole place becomes a bit more maze-like as you search for an exit. I personally found this to be very fun, though apparently plenty of people that have played this game disagree. I'm not sure why, if I'm being honest. All of the exploration, the puzzles, and my navigational acumen being tested was a lot of fun. Let me know how you feel about this section in the comments, because who knows, maybe it's just me, but I love this kind of style of gameplay. It is genuinely very intriguing to me. The boss of this section is the computer virus, which, oh no, they're onto me. FBI, open up! You have no proof of anything, FBI. I won't tolerate this break of my privacy. From here, it ain't getting any less mazy. The castle is the first place I genuinely got lost. It has a lot of different paths to take and some secretive little cubbies to hide in. With plenty of enemies along the way, some very strict requirements in terms of abilities, and a couple of falls from a very high place, I ended up caught here for a little while longer than I would have liked, and ultimately kept looping around like an idiot until I looked up what I was missing. I will be honest, I do not think I would have figured that out on my own, because the last time I was at the place where I had to go, I died instantly. That's what we call negative reinforcement. The boss here is Chameleon Arm, who is now dead. Huh. We won't be seeing any more of him, am I right? Finally, the garden here, which threw me for a loop instantly. This first part seemed very simple, but I spent something like 15 minutes fluttering uselessly against the wind currents until I finally managed to figure out how to get the tantalizing treasure. See, if I had Ku around here like I did in Kirby's Dream Land 2, this would have been easy pickings. The rest of the garden was pretty easy to navigate for me, even past the cloudy area, and nabbing all but a few of the treasures was just a question of meticulousness. Except for the hole the enemies came from. That should have been more obvious to me in hindsight. The final boss of this area is Wham Bam Rock. And he went down, oh holy crap! Oh my god, let go of me! Ah! This boss does not mess around. He hurts, has a ton of health, and by the second phase has an unavoidable grab that is so fast and does so much damage, it's kind of insane. Wham Bam Rock beat me up like I owed him lunch money, which, to be fair, I did steal nearly $10 million worth of stuff off him, and threw poor Kirby around like a rubber ball. Defeating him was an exercise in restraint. Don't be too gung-ho, and you'll be fine. Sit still, react quickly, and strike when the moment is right, or not at all. Overall, I do very much think I made the right call in playing through all of the Great Cave Offensive. It was confusing, at times esoteric, occasionally punishing, and definitely intentionally misleading, but it was really interesting to see all of the neat little references the treasures make, like the Triforce. Gosh, all those Zelda games really made it look a lot harder to get, but I guess that just goes to show how truly phenomenal our Lord's power is that he may wield all three pieces. I won't spoil any of the others in case you want to collect them yourself, but they are fun to see. Overall, I would say that the Great Cave Offensive was a lot of fun, but I definitely see why some people complained about it too. I think that because you can literally skip over every single treasure, and for the fact that it is windy, ambiguous, and sometimes downright mean, I'd have to place it in C tier. With a hasty escape, so ends our tale of discovery. Next up in our vast list of subgames is Revenge of Metaknight. This subgame tells the tale of how a charismatic man roused the armies of his nation and kickstarted an immense industrial upswing to create one of the most advanced war machines of all time to invade his neighbors and eventually conquer the world, seeking to eradicate all that dare to counter him in the name of personal progress and removal of laziness and social rot.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
This is still a Kirby game, right? Anyway, obviously Metaknight's literal fucking war needs to be stopped, and the honestly amazing halberd has to go down. Kirby is here to save the day, and by that I mean get dropped out of the sky. Woo! You go, Kirby! Revenge of Metaknight has 7 more serious stages with some increased difficulty and a ton of unique enemies. The gimmick? It's all timed. If you do not complete a level in time, you lose. That gives this a sense of urgency right off the bat, because if you do not hurry up and stop this cataclysm, the consequences will be dire. And it's not like Kirby is not taking this seriously either. He fell out of the hangar, and then when he came back, he got shot out of the sky. Do these people not know who the fuck I am? We start the 3rd stage off with Dyna Blade dropping us off before also getting shot out of the sky. We make our way across the ship until we reach another genuine problem boss, the combo cannon. I struggled quite a bit with this boss too, for a bunch of reasons. Firstly, smacking this thing at the front does not do damage to the boss at all, so that was learned the hard way. Secondly, this hand does not respect your personal space, and apparently you can destroy it, which was also learned the hard way. Finally, this cannon has no tell, so if it has decided to shoot you, you're gonna feel it real quick. Guess how I learned that one? All in all, this boss took me out a couple of times before I managed to turn it into a hole in the ship and bust my way in. The time limit throughout the subgame has not been an issue so far, but here is where it started to be. Destroying the wing here requires some winding, twisty paths and some button puzzles, followed by an intense chase scene until we finally get to fight the heavy lobster. Every time you go through the wrong door or fail the puzzle, the situation feels more and more hectic. And the mini-bosses that slow you down, it feels like an affront. Get out of my way, I got airships to break. Heavy Lobster is really not so tough. He is slow, telegraphs his attacks like crazy, and his pattern is pretty easy to exploit. He goes down and explodes, no problem. Now to the reactor. I don't know what kind of sci-fi, crystal mystic shit Metaknight managed to find underground, but this reactor is literally indestructible is what I would say if the laser beams weren't team-killing trolls. You'd think that with all this tech, the people designing this would have been able to tell the targeting system to not shoot directly at its power source. That's what you get when you have AI do everything for you, I guess. With the reactor blown up and the slaves freed, the halberd starts falling out of the sky. and we tear our way through the main deck, slaughtering everyone that remains until we encounter the main crew. Which is a little heartbreaking, actually. They really were just lamenting their lives and regretting the failure to their boss, and Kirby just murdered them. We encounter Metaknight, who is also no joke. He has extremely unpredictable slashes from his sword and some unblockable attacks. But if you have a helper, this should not be too big a deal. Try to keep your distance, stay behind him, make sure you distract him with your friend, and eventually you will make a startling revelation.
No, I am your father.
We escape on our motorbike as the ship collapses all around us like this is Fast and Furious, falling out of the sky like the helicarrier from the Avengers, with things exploding all around and Metaknight revealing he can fly as he attempts to end your life for good. This is still a Kirby game, right? With Metaknight's bid for cultural and ethnic supremacy firmly entrenched in the Orange Ocean to rot, the would-be usurper escapes our Lord's judgment for now, and Dreamland is safe again. Whew, what an experience! This played out much less like a Kirby game and much more like a Call of Duty infiltration mission with cute sprite work. There was action, tension, story, time limits, epic bosses, advanced machinery, an industrial feel. It all felt really cinematic the whole time. Unlike the other sub-games, Revenge of Metaknight has an intro and outro movie for each stage, rather than just the whole subgame. Watching the bad guys go from cocky to irritated to shocked to genuinely scared for their life and finally ready and willing to die for their leader was not something I was prepared to see in a Kirby game. This is a Kirby game! I am controlling a pink, adorable ball of squish. Why are we enacting war crimes on Dreamland? Why are we relentlessly tearing down a war vessel the size of the city? Why are we getting shot out of the sky? Apologies for the interruption, but have you considered that you might be enjoying my descent into madness? Because if so, I have got a deal just for you. Order now and for just free $99, you can subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of every upload I put out. Offer void where prohibited. We have reached the point in the Kirby series where we become aware that Kirby might be a little bit more than just a resident folk hero of Dreamland. In this sub-game, we see him repeatedly falling from tremendous heights with no issue, tanking 150mm artillery shells like it's nothing, blowing things up that drop the halberd into the ocean, and literally single-handedly turning this industrial superweapon into scrap before it ever got a chance to start its war. Kirby is not a special forces agent. He's not a superhero or even a particularly special guy. He has no introduction and no lore other than friend-shaped and cute. And he just did all of that within one day. It's morning when he starts this quest and only sunset when he has dropped the vessel. Are you beginning to see now why we call him our Most High? This was a blast. I usually don't really enjoy time limits in games, but in general, this was not too mean of one. So being able to rip this machine apart with our bare hands was a very engaging and cathartic experience. The difficulty is starting to ramp up here, but it is not so bad yet. We will get to things that are much harder, believe me. This subgame was awesome. I loved the exhilaration of escaping rampaging death robots, blowing up reactors, and toppling easily the greatest threat that Dreamland has ever seen. I felt like a total badass the entire time and never really felt like there was an issue or game flaw. I have to put this subgame solidly at A tier. It was without a shadow of a doubt the best subgame in this whole collection, so far. And thus ends our tale of supremacy. Now comes a peek into the cosmic story, the tremendous scale of consequences we are beginning to witness. Kirby is presented with a new issue. The sun and the moon are fighting, causing disarray in Dreamland. The residents of Dreamland at this point know to ask him for help, so they come to our Lord as he rests beneath a sacred tree. This guy, who is definitely not a bad guy in any way whatsoever, trust me, tells Kirby about a great machine that can grant any wish. But to power it, you need these super powerful stars that are scattered all over the solar system. Now, Kirby, being both immensely capable and immensely kind, goes to find these stars. I don't know why he didn't just beat the shit out of the sun and moon. He's done it before, but whatever. So now we are playing Kirby in space! Mario Galaxy be damned, this is the original starfaring Nintendo outing. Now, we can travel to any world we want to. The whole gimmick of Milky Way Wishes is that you no longer have the ability to consume enemies to gain powers, and instead have to find super copy pedestals scattered about the galaxy. Each of the planets has their own unique gameplay elements, meaning every single level has some new thing to throw at you to trip you up. That's a really cool idea on paper. Practically, though, I think it fell a little short. Planet Fiora has the unique feature of being able to step between seasons by just entering a few doors, which is odd but cool. Sometimes you want winter to be able to break through ice and enter a door. Sometimes you want fall for a tree to die. And sometimes you want summer because water is needed. It's short and simple, but really quite fun. Granted, anytime you're looking to progress, all you're really doing is going through a door. Then comes Planet Aquarius. At first, this world's gimmick is these bubbles of water that Nintendo apparently has enjoyed as a concept for a while, and the fact that you can just encounter some of Metaknight's lackeys here. But then you enter the last door here and get dropped off into the claustrophobic underwater cave version of Sisyphus's Punishment. I hate this so much. Every path you take is wrong, and every time you take the wrong path, you get to start over, and I hate it. This room was the most boring Super Mario Maker pick-a-path nonsense I've ever played in a Kirby game. 0 out of 10, leaving a bad Yelp review, riveting gameplay section. Next, Planet Sky High. More pick-a-path. Real clever Nintendo. Really phoning this in right at the end, huh? Then Planet Hotbeat, which is a molten lava nightmare that really keeps you on your toes. It's what I would say if these railways did not trivialize the entire level. Next, Planet Cavius is a maze full of little pockets where you fight bosses, the vast majority of which are entirely optional. More pick-a-path. Then we have Planet Mechai, an industrial-looking world that is a lot like tearing your way through the halberd until you reach this tower of mini-bosses that is, believe it or not, another fucking pick-a-path. Planet Half Moon is cool-looking, but ultimately just a railway system. Okay, all the stuff has been collected, time to enact our wish. Now, much to our surprise, as Kirby is about to make the wish, that guy, who was definitely not a bad guy in any way whatsoever, trust me, bumps our lord out of the way and proves himself actually definitively the bad guy all along. I fooled you by wishing for the ability to control Popstar. So we make our way to the inside of this grand machine, and suddenly we are playing a shmup. I love shmups. This is honestly so cool and looks so good. I will admit, it's more than a little strict. The movement is quite fast, and hitting these walls is a super easy way to explode, which I do not recommend if you enjoy being alive. The screen moves faster and faster, and the hallway gets narrower and narrower. This was the most engaging section of the subgame, and I enjoyed it profusely, even if I did die many times. The boss is actually super easy, but equally as cool. Look at the background here, it's amazing. I turned this gigantic alien wish-granting machine into an explosion. I'm Luke Skywalker, baby! Now, we can take the fight directly to Mr. Communism, who, I will admit, is dressed for the occasion quite fittingly, and begins our climactic battle.
A few moments later.
Oh, never mind, he's dead. Ha. Milky Way Wishes was not that fun, honestly. Listen, I love cosmic journeys. I replay Ratchet & Clank every few years, the whole series, because it is goated, don't at me. So this should have hit me like a revelation, but instead, I just sort of coasted. The ability gimmick felt like it hadn't cooked for long enough, and the levels were either rail rides or guess and cry. I spent 50 minutes playing this subgame, and the vast majority of the time was spent either in railways or accidentaling my way into progress. And so with all this, I have to give Milky Way Wishes a score of D for dumbass pick-a-path nonsense. So ends our tale of betrayal. Up next, the arena. This was the difficulty spike that finally made me go, okay, I gotta learn how to play Kirby games like now. The point of the arena is that you are fighting all of the bosses in a row, and between each one you have a chance to heal and get some copy abilities. At the very beginning, you can choose any of them, but between each boss you only get 2 apparently randomized ones. The 5 Maxim tomatoes once collected become regular tomatoes, and you have to beat 19 bosses in a row. Now up to this point, I have joked repeatedly about the bosses being easy pickings again and again, because they were. So going into this, I thought I was going to breeze past the whole sub-game. I could not have been more wrong. Most of the bosses fought up until this point were absolute jokes because you almost always had the ability to get your ass beat and come right back with full HP. In the arena, if you die, you go all the way back to the very beginning. Too bad, so sad, get good, #wrecked. I spent 2 hours and 45 minutes in this arena and died easily a dozen or 2 dozen times. At first, I was way too gung-ho, playing recklessly and thinking I was hot shit, ignoring healing opportunities and wasting my helpers as meat shields. I found out real quick that was not gonna cut it. So, I slowed way down and tried to instead min-max my health, optimize which copy abilities I had and which my helpers had, attempted to figure out how to defeat each of the bosses while taking as little damage as possible, and being more careful throughout. It became something of a puzzle, actually, where I had to modify my gameplay and adapt to the situation before me to achieve victory, manage resources, and take my time to achieve total understanding of my opponent and how they functioned. I imagine that when I get into playing the World of Light on the hardest difficulty, it will be much the same story. So, to save us all some time, because this video is long enough as it is, I am briefly going to go over my strategies to beat the arena in the hopes that it helps someone out in the future. Now, each of the enemies is entirely random except for the final boss, who will always be Marks. So I'm going to go over general strats because at any given moment, the order, your helpers, and your abilities will be different to my own. Camellia Arm was a joke before, but he's actually one of the more difficult ones. He leaves himself open to an attack right at the beginning, but rushes you once he has introduced himself. Quite often, he would stop and blam my helper, which I forgot every single time meant he was about to spit them at me. I only dodged this attack a single time in all of my attempts, which is just embarrassing. After rolling around, he will stick to the wall in the background. Hit him with whatever you've got, but keep to the lower edges because he's going to extend his little feet and then throw up rain balls on you. These are easy to dodge and can be used against him. The most dangerous part is when he turns invisible, because it's a lot harder to perceive what he's gonna do. While he's becoming invisible, hit him a bunch and hope that he keeps rolling to take him out before he kills your helper. The main cannon is also really dangerous, and I struggled a lot. The beam at the bottom is honestly not a threat, but the hands that insist on invading your no-no square are the worst, and the main cannon shoots without warning. I spent a long time trying to find a strategy that really worked every time, and what I ultimately came up with was standing right at the edge, wailing on it, then destroying the hands and blocking the bombs. I only discovered that you could even do this on my winning attempt. Again, god-awful at video games, guys. I'm sorry. Computer virus is incredibly easy. Stand next to the enemies, block, wait, beat them up, repeat. For the dragon, stand a little further. Even if you're getting chipped by the wind, you are basically never going to take enough damage to die. Your helper, Dyna Blade is sorta 50-50. She will either go down pretty quickly and you'll be fine, or she will grab you and do so much damage. If you get grabbed by her, prepare yourself for the power of flight to be digging into your flesh. Ku was so much more gentle. I should call him. I suggest removing yourself from the general vicinity of them sharp talons and smacking her head until she drops. Fatty Whale. Block him. Yeah, that's it. The Galactic Nova Nucleus is also really easy. Approach the pillars, pew pew. Don't run into the wall like an idiot, pew pew. Heavy Lobster. His attacks are telegraphed, and the most dangerous he gets is when he rushes forwards in a quick trot. Otherwise, he is huge, slow, and not tanky enough. This guy is no problem if you can get behind him. A sitting duck if ever I saw one. King Dedede, my arch rival, is a pushover in this game. That has not changed. Every single time you hit him, he flinches, and you can keep staggering him like this if you get the timing right. The only threat you face here is if you're too close, because he can just run into you or tackle you, which is both his fastest and most painful move. If you break the cycle of flinching, don't try to get it back right away. Focus on dodging him by being on the opposite edge of the arena he is on before getting back in there and beating him up. Kracko is also really easy if you are careful. If you block, he literally cannot hurt you unless you have decided to be directly inside of him. Get rid of your copy ability here though, because what you want to do is suck up and then spit his waddle-doos at him, taking him out in 3 or 4 shots. Keep your distance, make sure you're never close enough to him that jumping would hurt, and you will be fine. Low, and la are simple, but deceptively one of the more dangerous fights. Don't even try to suck up and spit their boxes. Chances are you are not going to be able to block them when they walk up to you. Use your copy ability and block right before they touch you, or sneak up behind them and cheap shot them. The mid-boss all-stars of Group 1 are really easy. Kawasaki is not a threat if you are any further from him than right in front of the guy. Bonkers is slow and spends a lot of time just jumping. Bugsy is a huge threat only if you let him get started. You should focus on hurting him while your helper, The second mid-boss group is actually a lot more dangerous, but if you keep your distance from everyone, they will never be a problem. For Metaknight, honestly, wait him out. Unless you happen to really prefer Sword to your current copy ability, in which case after a slightly awkward amount of time, our father will finally lose his patience and attempt to kill us in an unfair duel. Metaknight ended a few of my runs with his insanely fast slashes, unblockable tornadoes, and ability to fly, but eventually I found that if you stay behind him and behind your helper, you can do massive damage, while the helper, I will admit the best I've got for you is that you will have to do more damage to him than he is doing to you. Worst case scenario, use your helper's body as a projectile. The reactor is super easy. Hover right here, have the AI monitors hit the reactor, dodge the super slow attack, rinse and repeat. Twin Woods and Wispy Woods are punching bags. Banana Waddle Dee. This game mode is hard, man. Wham, bam, rock. This motherfucker is most of the reason I spent almost 3 hours on this game mode. His attacks hit like a semi-truck normally, and when he's angry, he starts to hit like a fucking freight train. I suggest you get very good at reacting to his movements. A hand will appear from the top or side of the screen on either the left or the right. Always move away from it as much as you think you can get away with and hit it once. Any more than a single attack and you risk ramming into his hands, which hurt just as much when they're still as when they're not. His slam is no big deal, and his punch is easy to react to. He will snap his fingers occasionally and drop a ton of rocks on you. This is usually a good thing because you can block and avoid all the damage, and your helper can touch one of these to save themselves if they happen to be dying, which they are so good at. Oh my god! His little walking flick that he does is really hard to avoid until you realize you can just move left. If you have a helper though, he can flick your helper at you and it hurts. Once he is at half health, he enters phase 2, where his most dangerous attack becomes this incredibly fast grab. I think I managed to dodge this one only once or twice at best, and he grinds you up like you're a banned substance. He also drops his fingers on you, and this is pretty easy to block. The good news is you are almost done. He will have a slow-moving, 3-time slam attack that leaves him open forever, and you can easily drop most of his health in a single volley. Now, in between rooms, you should really be sure you are replacing your helper if they have too little health. You should never be below half health if you can help it, unless you know for a fact you can do the next boss damageless. However you end up deciding that, save a maxim each for Metaknight, Wham Bam, and Marks if you can. They are brutal. Make sure every time you eat a tomato that you are open-mouth kissing your ally to share. This is very important.
Daddy, chill.
Marks is certainly a threat, but not as much as you might think. In general, his attacks are pretty telegraphed, and they are not much harder to dodge or block than most of the rest of the bosses before. The big danger is definitely this attack where he tries to ram you from below the floor. The only way I managed to dodge this was by sliding at the last possible moment. Other than his teleportation shenanigans occasionally cheesing a free hit for him, as long as you keep your distance and hit him just before or just after an attack, you should be fine. The arena was so much fun. I loved figuring out all the strategies and finding new ways to optimize my gameplay here. I felt like I was closer and closer every time I tried and achieved fantastic results with every new improvement. Even the easiest enemies proved occasionally that I had to be paying attention to them. but it was never so difficult that I thought, what a load of bullcrap. Hopefully that statement wasn't foreshadowing anything. This subgame was genuinely hard to complete, not just tedious or puzzling. There was no misdirection here, like in the Great Cave Offensive, no shenanigans, and absolutely no tomfoolery. The arena presents you with a very, very simple question. You think you can take them all? And it's up to you to prove yourself worthy. This subgame teaches there may not always be one answer to a problem you are facing, and that you can always choose to approach a situation from a different angle. Sometimes you need to be careful, sometimes you get unlucky, sometimes you need to really get in there and just do it, and sometimes it's not difficult. This, I think, actually makes for a great metaphor for our first lives. You know, that silly game we play outside of the screens? The obstacles that we face are numerous and honestly seem to have no pattern or discernible one-size-fits-all solution. They present themselves and throw what they got at us, and we are forced to proceed with only what happens to be available to us in the moment. We can ask for help along the way, try to be analytical, and throw ourselves into the fires if we want to. But the fact is, we will often, and sometimes humiliatingly, fail. If I could have a moment to be sincere, I spent 2 weeks on each of the first 2 episodes of this series. At the time I'm writing this script, it has been 3 weeks, and I haven't even gotten to the editing portion yet. I failed to keep up good momentum, got distracted and stressed out, lost my temper, made mistakes, and now here I am trying once again to be funny. None of you would have ever known. None of you know how many times I failed at this game mode, only that I did eventually succeed, I have proof, and I seem to know what I'm talking about. Failure is not just always an option, it is an inevitability. An expectation even, and most importantly, a lesson. A chance to grow. It keeps us humble, and that's not fun. If you are not great at something the moment you start doing it, and that is enough to discourage you, you really don't understand the point of doing things. You are not going to be great at anything the first time you try it, ever, no matter what you do. And somebody is always going to be out there that has achieved greatness at that thing. They got the proof. They seem to know what they're talking about. Compare your start to their end point, and there is obviously going to be a lot of distance between you. But there is a fun game you can play with them. Pick your favorite actor, YouTuber, or writer. Find the first thing they ever wrote or acted in or put out on their channel. It's probably shit, but they didn't stop. Robert Downey Jr. was a drug addict, and then he was Iron Man. George Lucas was interested in racing until he had a bad crash. The world doesn't fucking care if you fail, really. Once you succeed, all those little humiliations will have taught you you had the cojones to keep going. All of this sentimental crap to say, I genuinely have experienced a lot making these videos already. And I hope that the journey I am undertaking in my second life as a pink puffball will continue to be as fun, difficult, and full of failures as this adventure was. Because I will eventually complete it. Success is, funnily enough, not only always an option, but if you really give a fuck about what you're doing, it too is an inevitability. All in all, I'd rate the arena the only thing it could be, A. And so ends our tale of endurance. After this comes the revenge of the king. DDD has decided he is still a problem and seeks to challenge Kirby with an army of his finest. See, it's just like I was saying, failure is never the end. This is basically just a harder version of Spring Breeze with a bit of story and some new enemies and mini-bosses. Every single boss is also harder, and we even get to see an old friend. Nearly 16 years after her first appearance. Good for you, Kabula. You go, girl. Get shot out of the sky. Gotcha. DDD himself is at the end, and actually quite a bit tougher. Now he doesn't flinch every time we hit him, and he hurts a lot when he hits you. He's got gains, and honestly, good for him. Ultimately, he is still not enough. Kudos to him for continuously surviving encounters with Kirby, though. Even gigantic cosmic super machines can't say the same. After only 30 minutes, his reign of terror ends with a solid C on the tier list. Now for the next subgame, we once again enter an arena. Oh no. Helper to Hero gives the extras in this story a chance to shine, each having unique powers and their specific abilities to help them out as we face harder versions of the bosses found in the arena. With increased health, increased damage, and the helpers each having their own significantly reduced movesets. Considering the arena absolutely kicked my ass, I think this is going to end up being one of the greater endurance tests of my life. Took me 30 minutes. All of my previous strategies worked, and if you play as the Electric Wisp, you can fly and easily avoid absolutely everything. Since you've already beaten the arena, none of the strategies changed, so just do that again. Only this time, you can fly. The only major concern is the final boss of this subgame. Wham Bam Rock is again one of the tougher bosses in this game. He isn't any easier when he's harder, but getting his rocks off is not too difficult with our electric touch. The real issue is that his dad caught us in the act and is none too happy that we blew his son up. There are a couple of important differences between Mr. Jewel and his son Rock, and the biggest one is the punch attack. Instead of just hitting you, Jewel's fists arc downwards covered in fire, and he tends to punch twice. He has even more health and does even more damage, shoots beams of energy at you, and if you are not careful, will absolutely be a run ender, especially because he comes right after Rock does. I'm not sorry. If you have conquered the arena, Helper to Hero is no issue at all. Really. Keep your patience and you should be fine. C tier. Alright, next up, Metaknight Ultra. Just in case you forgot what a fun time you had playing through the game, Metaknight is here to do the exact same thing. For what? Well, while Kirby was gallivanting around in a cave looking for a treasure,
and they're carrying treasures from the pyramid.
Before the treasures are smuggled out of the country.
The stolen treasures.
Metaknight was training. When he got his ass beat, he went back to training. It's all he does. Metaknight Ultra sees you donning the mask and blade of the Dark Knight as he peruses Spring Breeze, Dyna Blade, the Great Cave Offensive, but without treasures, thank God, his past traumas, and then another romp through Milky Way Wishes, which exists exclusively to remind me that joy is temporary and suffering is forever. The primary difference in gameplay here is that you have wing and sword at all times, and can summon helpers for points that you earn through cold hard murder instead of through vor. Please do not look up what that means. All this to find the Nova Core, which survived somehow, and is now sitting before Metaknight. The Dark Knight wishes not to become the greatest warrior, but to meet the greatest warrior in the galaxy, so he can kick his ass to become stronger. I gotta respect the grind, honestly. But holy crap, Knightmare is not fucking around. Grandfather over here is some ancient warrior who was sealed away for being too powerful, and now Metaknight is here to prove he is a Giga Chad Sigma male and defeat the most powerful fighter in the galaxy. I would love to go over this fight in more detail and tell you I developed an incredible strategy to beat him, but I didn't. I was honestly just flailing madly trying not to become a stain on the wall, and he ended up dying before I did. I don't know what happened, to be honest. Metaknight Ultra took me an hour and a half, and it was fun, even if I did have to redo that stupid aquatic torture tunnel system again. Knightmare opens a door in the Akashic records of the Kirby lore. A big one. One that hints at something ancient, maybe even divine. A primordial duelist, a remnant of a forgotten war. I've joked about it through this review, but let's be real. Metaknight and Kirby are clearly the same species, and Knightmare, he might be their origin, or their apex, or a prophecy fulfilled. But I know exactly what you are all expecting now. The true final challenge of Kirby Superstar Ultra, the dreaded True Arena. Up to this point, every subgame has been ranked by difficulty from 1 star to 6, with only the Arena and Helper to Hero being 6 stars. Each subgame had a different challenge all to its own, each one testing my skills, or patience, or knowledge of the game in a new way. Some were like easy hills to climb, others my Mount Everest. All I knew going into the final challenge was that the arena really tested me and made me go on a whole spiel about how I would never give up, never surrender, and always strive to get back up after I get knocked down. I hate that I wrote that in the script before I had finished the true arena. Apparently, there is such a thing as a critical difficulty, and all it takes is one star too many for the nuclear reaction to start. Meet my Olympus Mons. The true arena has us facing the 10 hardest bosses in the game that were not already part of the arena, with 5 tomatoes for all of them. Not Maxim tomatoes, regular ass tomatoes. One slip up is now a genuine issue, and every chip of damage we take is one we permanently do not have the means to recover from. Every single boss is a threat. Yes, even the Lilies over here. And yes, even Wispy Woods. If the arena was teaching us humility, the true arena is teaching us an even more important lesson. It can always get worse. And if you have not fully internalized the previous lessons of this game, you had better be ready to suffer for your indolence. 5 hours. I spent 5 hours on this monstrous task. 5 hours of endless, repeated failure. I got destroyed constantly, reset constantly, heard that goddamn failure music constantly, and all the while in the back of my mind was the fact that I could take the easy way out. Make a save state, return to it. I could not begin to explain exactly how truly, genuinely difficult it was not to do that, but I didn't. I refused because I owed it to myself to finish it for real. I died so many times. I made so many stupid mistakes. I got to marks repeatedly, only to fail right at the end. And I had the choice. From the beginning, I have had the choice to cheat in this game. Every loss was optional, every death reversible, but that would be disingenuous. Because the struggle is not the obstacle, it's the point. Because losing meant I needed to try better. Because I saw myself improve every single time I entered the arena. I was calmer, more in control, more patient. My spacing got better. I found new tricks. I eventually did away with whole runs because I knew I was gonna fail anyway. My first life has been full of that repeated, mind-numbing failure, and I am still here. Every single day is another verse in my song. Every horrible decision I have ever made a lesson in my curriculum. And a select few I didn't make changed my life for the better. When I got angry, which happened often, I stopped recording, went to get a snack and some water, and I was back in it. I said, "This is it, this is the one," to myself 6 times. 5 of those times I was lying, apparently. The 6th, I was not sure until the moment it ended. Defeating Mark Soul seemed impossible, so I settled for perfecting the fight against Kabula instead. Defeating DDD seemed absolutely infeasible without as much health as I could get, so I focused on not getting hit at all. Learning Knight's moves was absolutely out of the question, so I focused on optimizing my movement and memorizing the timing of hammer swings instead. And eventually, once I perfected the fights, I took less damage. And eventually, as I took less damage, I was able to fight DDD fairly well. And eventually, as I memorized the timing of everything, I was able to perfect my fights against him too. Wham Bam Jewel ended most of my runs. I don't understand why I struggle so much to fight him, but I do. Galactonite ended the couple that I managed to make past Mr. Jewel, and Marks got me 4 times. I even got the HAL Laboratory logo for Stone. That's how long I spent here. To beat the true arena, you have to memorize Krako and Krako Jr.'s movement patterns. Learn how to space out Kabula's Gordos, and don't even worry about the pellets. Those will break if you're shooting fast enough. You will have to treat the mini-bosses with respect. You absolutely must not rush Lo, and La. You have to time hammer swings to hit Wispy and the apples that fall. The final 4 are always in the same order. Masked DDD seemed way too hard to take on until I realized, much too late in my runs, you can spin through him. Patience is the name of the game. Hit him once. Any more and you are asking for Thunderhammer in your teeth. Wham Bam Jewel is the same. Take every opportunity to spin through his hands, never smack. Hit once. The hurt box on his hands expands after the slam when he opens them back up, which is the most annoying part about the fight. If you cannot dodge, block. If the hand pauses before slamming, get out of there, he is going to grab you. As for Knight, absolutely do not get in front of him. It was important for Metaknight, and it is much more important here. Even blocking is brutal. He hits so hard, it's kind of offensive. Keep in mind that he can and often does begin attacking you the instant he returns from summoning his goons, so do not let up, do not get scared, and do not get in front of him. Take every single opportunity you have to sneak behind him and smack him. He is the litmus test. If you survive him, you are 9/10 of the way there. Obviously, you know what I mean. Mark's soul is thankfully not hard to figure out, but unfortunately he's the least forgiving boss in this run. Wait until he has decided where he wants to be and punish. But be aware that his cutter attack is much faster than you are and has no tell. If you are not already blocking, you will get hit. The black hole is an instant death, so you want to be running away from that as soon as you can. His tremendous laser beam is unblockable. Ask me how I know. And it lasts longer than you might think. When he is about to pop up from the ground, the best thing you can do is spin the hammer. The paint attack is easy to deal with. Just block. Chip damage is not a big deal anymore, and it is not worth it to risk the fancy footwork, believe me. The double orbs are easy. Hover in the center, then under and over. I have no idea if these sparkles hurt, but I avoided them just in case. The biggest threat you face when in this fight is nerves. He is not necessarily difficult, but he is the last challenge. His attacks are quick, but not blindingly fast, except for his cutters. And his deadliest moves see him moving to super specific parts of the battlefield. After several hours of repeated attempts, just getting to him will be easier and easier, then eventually getting him down to half of his health, and then to a third. But none of what I did for the 5 hours could have possibly prepared me for the moment when, right at the end, I managed to make the mistake.
Shut up. Come on. No. No! How the fuck does that make any sense at all?
Please, please. Yes! Get destroyed. There's not a second phase, is there? God, that is terrifying. I got him. I did it. Yeah. I felt good. I felt good. Not happy necessarily, not relieved. Accomplished. Powerful. That is what gaming is about. That laugh right there. The moment when you beat something you genuinely didn't think you could beat. It's a personal accomplishment, and no one can take that away from you. Because, as I hope I have made exceptionally clear, I am very good at being bad at video games. So, I hope you will join me on the rest of my journey to become good at them too. And yeah, this was a stupid, useless, entirely meaningless, absolutely trivial event, but it meant something to me. That matters. I will remember this. I will brag about it to my friends, and they will laugh at me, but I exist for my own entertainment and without anyone else's consent. I exist, and now that can be everyone else's problem too. The True Arena earns an easy A tier for absolutely kicking my ass. With a final triumphant hurrah, so ends our tale of tenacity, and we close the anthology off with a montage of funny failures. A perfect fitting ending for such a journey fraught with so many of them. So, what did I think overall of Kirby Superstar Ultra? Wow. Truly, it did not disappoint. The previous games in the series were warm-ups for this collection. From the very beginning, this pink puffball has taken us on a hectic sequence of hilarious and sometimes kind of spooky adventures across his home in Dreamland. We have seen Kirby grow, develop, make friends, become a hero, and make mistakes. It may seem like I am making a really big deal out of the theme of getting back up after losing, but honestly, this whole collection is absolutely filled with tenacity. Spring Breeze is a remake of the very first title in the series done right this time. DDD returns to challenge Kirby not once, but twice. Our Lord repeatedly falls off the halberd, but returns again and again. Metaknight has his entire war machine toppled in a single day and immediately gets right back to self-improvement. The arena, Helper to Hero, and especially the True Arena all tell the same story many different ways. Do not give up. It's not about being perfect the first time through. The mistakes and shortcomings we have are not what define us. Metaknight is a badass warrior with a strangely deep voice and mad skills. DDD is a hell of a fighter and a great king to his people, always opting to protect them at any cost. Marks. Kirby is a lovable and friendly, all-powerful god of wrath and mercy both. But all of them have come up short somehow. In our first lives, it is no surprise at all that shit happens and we have to deal with it. It's just one damn thing after another. What I think a lot of people miss, especially in their teenage years, is that much more often than not, the damn things overlap. There is very rarely a break. We don't get to pause our first lives and start over from somewhere else. Reincarnation is always a fresh save, if you get what I'm saying. And even if we have the chance to do that in our second lives, sometimes it's still about the experience. In my first episode, I said that video games are integral to my experience in life. Who I am and what I have done, that is right here in front of me. Mindlessly easy runs through life, entirely optional tasks that bring us joy, misjudging people, trying to help others, getting kicked down and facing insurmountable odds against obstacles too numerous to count, and still winning. That is why games matter to us. It's why there's so much passion behind them, why people are so angry at the companies for their tired, safe routines, why people are nostalgic for good old days, and why speedrunning is a hobby, some would say an obsession. This shit matters. It mattered to me. I know it mattered to some of you too. And if you've watched to the end here, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You didn't have to care, but you did. That matters to me. It means the world to me. Now that we have finally finished the game, and we have our placements for all the sub-games, we can rank this monster. Kirby Superstar Ultra is the definitive Kirby game. Everything is here, from the gameplay to the charm to the absurd lore. Even when it drags, it's dumb fun. Where else could it possibly go but A tier? Thank you all for watching. I hope that you all had a good time in the meander time. Good luck in all of your endeavors. Have fun along the way. Make money doing it if you can. And I will see you all next time.